The high desert of Utah is a place where the silence doesn't just feel empty, it feels hungry. Caleb Adam, a seasoned wildlife photographer who had spent his career chasing shadows in the Amazon and the Himalayas, thought he was prepared for anything. He had heard the whispers about Skinwalker Ranch, a patch of land cursed by ancient Navajo sorcery. But to him they were just campfire stories. He didn't believe in monsters. He believed in what he could capture through a 50-millimeter lens. As the sun dipped below the horizon, bleeding a deep, bruised purple across the sky, Caleb drove his Jeep along the desolate stretch of Highway 40. The radio had long since faded into static, leaving only the hum of tires on asphalt. Suddenly, his high beams caught a shape in the middle of the road. He slammed on the brakes, skidding to a halt. At first he thought it was a wolf, massive, gray, and mangy. But as the dust settled, his blood turned to ice. The creature wasn't standing like a four-legged animal. It was hunched over, its joints bending at impossible, sickening angles. When it turned its head, it didn't have the glowing yellow eyes of a predator. It had the wet, intelligent, and hateful eyes of a human being. It stared at Caleb, baring teeth that were too flat to be a wolf's, and then, with a blur of unnatural speed, it vanished into the darkness of the sagebrush. Gasping for air, Caleb pulled into a dilapidated gas station a few miles down the road. An elderly Navajo man sat on a crate, his face a road map of deep wrinkles. When Caleb asked about the wolf, the old man didn't look up. He simply whispered, "Do not speak its name. If you acknowledge it, you invite it. It's not a wolf, boy. It's a Yi-Naldalushi. It has smelled your fear, and now it wants your skin." Caleb laughed it off, chalking it up to local superstition. He drove to the perimeter of the ranch and set up his camp. But as the clock struck 2 a.m., the desert went unnaturally silent. Not a cricket chirped. Not a breeze stirred. Then came the voice. "Caleb, help me. I'm hurt." It was his sister's voice, clear, trembling, and coming from just outside the thin nylon wall of his tent. His heart leapt, but then his brain caught up. His sister was back in Chicago, 1,000 miles away. A cold sweat broke out over his skin. He remembered the legend. Skinwalkers are mimics. They lure you out by sounding like the people you love most. He peered through a tiny slit in the tent zipper. There was no woman. Standing in the moonlight was the creature from the road, now upright on two legs, its body covered in a patchwork of rotting fur and human-like skin. It was vibrating, its jaw unhinging as it practiced his sister's voice again. "Caleb, come out." Panic seized him. He grabbed his keys, bolted for the Jeep, and floored the engine. He didn't look back until he was doing 80 miles per hour, but when he glanced at his side view mirror, his breath hitched. The creature was running alongside the car, keeping pace with effortless, terrifying strides. Its long, clawed fingers began to rake against the metal of the door, the sound of screeching steel filling the cabin like a death knell. In a moment of blind terror, Caleb swerved to avoid a shadow in the road, and the Jeep flipped, tumbling into a ravine. Dazed and bleeding, Caleb crawled out of the wreckage. The desert air was cold. He saw the creature standing a few feet away, but it was changing. Its bones were snapping and reforming, its skin stretching and molding like clay. Within seconds, it wasn't a wolf anymore. It was a perfect mirror image of Caleb himself, right down to the flannel shirt and the blood trickling from its forehead. The other Caleb smiled, a wide, horrific grin that reached its ears. It spoke in Caleb's own voice, cold and hollow. Your life was a good one. I think I'll keep it. Caleb remembered the small pouch of mountain ash the old man at the gas station had forced into his hand. With a final surge of adrenaline, he threw the ash into the creature's face. The skinwalker let out a shriek that sounded like 1,000 dying souls, its form dissolving into a cloud of black soot and foul-smelling smoke. Caleb survived. He moved back to the city, sold his cameras, and never looked at the desert again. But some nights, when he looks in the bathroom mirror, he notices his pupils flickering, turning a predatory yellow for just a split second. And in the silence of his apartment, he hears his own voice whispering from the shadows, "We never truly leave the ones we've chosen." Would you like me to write a story about the Wendigo next? It's a different kind of horror from the snowy forests of the north.